Hello everybody, my name is Christian, and man, 3.7 is gonna be insane. This is still the usual pull video and nothing else, but I just wanted to personally share how excited I am for the end of Amphoreus. This has been an amazing experience in gaming for me, and has been wonderful for the channel as well. Shout out to all you guys for supporting me and these videos, I really do appreciate it. Now, let's talk about this update. For 3.7, we have the Chrysosairs Avalanche coming down upon us. We have reruns for Tribby, Mighty, Phynon, Castorus, Hyacin, and Cypher. Leading the way for this banner set is none other than Cyrene. The long-awaited dawn of Pink Jesus is upon us, gamers. I hope you're all ready. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and let's get into it. Let's pause real quick and take a brief word from our sponsor, LD Shop. With so many good characters coming out soon, many players simply don't have the jades they need to get them all. Now, if only there was a cheaper way to get top-ups for games like Star Rail and ZZZ. Well, that's where the sponsor of the video comes in, LD Shop. LD Shop is a safe and reliable top-up site for all your favorite games. They offer top-ups at a more affordable price than in-game, and can even activate your first top-up bonus if you haven't used it already. All you have to do is click the bundle you want, put in your server and UID, and your top-up will appear in-game shortly after. If you buy using my link as well, you can get a 5% and 15% coupon good for $50. Last but not least, if you consistently use LD Shop and spend over $80 for the month, you can get an Express Supply Pass completely free on your homepage. Use the link in the description or the pinned comment. Thank you so much to LD Shop for sponsoring. Let's get back to the video. It worked last time I did it, so hey, join the Discord. Or else. I know where you live, Luke. Alright, time for the housekeeping stuff that's good to include at the start of these videos. At the time this video is out, the Dahlia has been announced as a Fire Nihility character. There's a lot of speculation as to what she is, but regardless, this is another character to keep in mind for the future. With her as the only new character being announced for 3.8, that means plenty of reruns coming up as well. My personal guess is that if you like any Penacony characters, I would start saving up just in case. The last note is that version 3.8 is giving us another Golden Companion Spirit, and Topaz is now an available option in that shop. If you are someone who loses your 50-50 this update, then hey, you have some options in the shop that can serve as temporary substitutes. Now, we can finally discuss Cyrene. So, Cyrene. Cyrene is an Ice Remembrance 5-star, and she is a character unlike any other. I say that a lot in these videos, but man, they just keep making designs beyond anything I could expect. Cyrene in simple terms is a Chrysosair built for Chrysosairs. She offers a type of specific buff that may not help average characters, but is incredible for this specific group. Now, if you want more specifics, try and stay with me here. Cyrene has a peculiar kit overall, and it all starts with her ultimate, Verse Vow. Cyrene has a unique ultimate that doesn't recharge with energy. Instead, she collects recollection points, and she needs 24 of them to activate her ultimate. It seems like every attack by an ally or Memo Sprite will get you a recollection point, and Cyrene can stack them as well through her ult and basic attack. When you eventually reach 24 points, you can activate Cyrene's ultimate. This ult does a lot, to say the least. First and foremost, the ultimates of every character on your team will be activated. This is absolutely huge for characters who are ult-intensive like Phynon or Castorus. The second part of her ultimate is far more interesting, however. You can select any team member and place a buff on them. If they aren't a Chrysosair, it's a simple damage boost. For Chrysosairs, however, they all get a specific buff custom made for them. We don't know the exact details right now of every single buff, but needless to say, this is an awesome feature game design-wise. Cyrene will unlock new potential for your characters, and has buffs you cannot find from any other source. Some people may not like that, but I'm a big fan personally, especially how it ties in to the in-game lore. Cyrene can actually trigger this effect more than once too. Every time she activates her ultimate, which you can do by getting enough points after you've activated your ultimate the first time, you can place a buff on another Chrysosair on your team. This can ultimately be very powerful, with possibly every character on your team having some sort of enhancement. I assume the Keeping Up with Cyrene trailer will be out around the same time as this video, so hopefully that means we know more about each specific buff for each specific character. With her main mechanic covered, we still have a lot to get through actually. When Cyrene uses her ultimate, she will also receive an enhanced basic attack that does damage to all enemies on the field. She seems to be in the offensive support archetype like Saridra or Tribi is. So she'll not only enhance your team's damage, but also dish out a little herself to help you out. She actually has a Memo Sprite skill that does more damage to all enemies on the field, but this comes at the cost of losing a buff for a teammate. I wouldn't really recommend using this unless every heir on your team already has their signature buff. The final thing to talk about with Cyrene is her skill, which wasn't nearly as important as her ultimate. Bloom Elysium of Beyond grants a zone that deals true damage every time an ally attacks. Pretty simple, but this is hard to complain about considering this is a method of true damage that isn't locked behind an Eidolon and isn't for only one team member. Cyrene can also use her technique at the start of battle to summon this zone at absolutely no cost to your team. Overall, Cyrene is a character that really excels in one specific role, with the Chrysos heirs. She is going to be incredibly lackluster elsewhere and isn't worth it if you only have like 2 heirs on your account, quite frankly. Especially if they are other supports like Cypher or Tribi. With this in mind though, this character is incredible for those that she works best with. She is someone who can help your Phynon, your Anexa, your Mighty, your Aglaya, your Castris, or your Evernight. I feel similarly to her as I do with Saridra. Saridra has the potential to age much better than Cyrene because skill-based characters will be a constant once we're off the Flame Chase journey. However, Cyrene assists a single type of character more than any other, and with proper investment, she can keep them competitive for an unbelievable amount of time. If you are someone who has multiple Chrysos heirs, or you simply love the characters and want to see them shine, you should pull Cyrene. People on the internet will scream and cry at you that the character is useless or bad. Those people are idiots. No character in this game is bad nowadays. Cypher was not bad. Saridra was not bad. Cyrene will not be bad. She may not be the most ideal for finishing fights in the most optimal way, but she provides a level of creativity and fun, which is unmatched by any other character in the game right now. That is worth a pull, in my opinion. Alright, well, that's the big hitter out of the way, so now we can move on to the first half reruns. And dear God almighty, what is this? Jesus! They didn't even separate Hyacinth and Cassie, they're on the same half with the 2 best supports for that team! I'm fine. I'm not salty at all. So, let's start off with Hyacinth. Yeah, wow, I really used up all my positivity on Cyrene, huh? Hyacinth is a Wind Remembrance 5-star, and she is the caretaker of the Aeon of Veracity, Little Ika. Hyacinth's kit is focused on being a damage-dealing sustain, keeping your party alive and turning that HP lost into damage output for Little Ika's attacks. When she first came out, it seemed like she wouldn't be the best choice overall for some players, as her healing numbers seemed a little bizarre, and she focused a lot on damage output. In reality, she is the best sustain in the game, and it isn't close. She has been the deciding factor in clearing anomaly arbitration for most players, and has seen herself in play with some of the best teams in Star Rail. Comboing with her unbelievably powerful Eidolons, she is a necessity for any Castris, Mighty, Blade, or Jingliu players that want to achieve the full potential of their characters. I've made my stance on Hyacinth very well known, where I think she is an incredibly predatory design, and the game plays into that a lot. At the end of the day, however, that just cements her even higher as the best sustain without any close competition. You should pull Hyacinth if you lack a decent healer, you play an HP scaling main DPS, or you play teams where you have a lot of free skill points. This gives her the ability to spam heavily and really increase the damage output of Little Ika. This character is a demon. I really cannot recommend her enough if you want to have easier success in this game. Next up, the queen of getting supports herself, Castris. Castris is a Quantum Remembrance 5-star who scales on HP, and has a unique ultimate mechanic that serves as the focus of her gameplay. When allies lose HP or get healed, Castris charges New Bud. When New Bud reaches 100%, she can summon her Memo Sprite, Netherwing. This ferocious dragon is capable of performing a joint attack with Castris that damages all enemies if she moves before Netherwing. That doesn't mean that Netherwing on its own is any less dangerous though. With a powerful swipe attack and deadly fire breath that ends with a massive AoE explosion, Castris is an amazing character for multi-target scenarios and can still hold up pretty well in single target. Castris has been out since version 3.2, and as a result of this, does need a bit more help nowadays than beforehand. Her light cone is an important first step, but besides that, she is far weaker if you don't have a Hyacinth or Tribby around to help her out. This now extends to Evernight and Cyrene as well, but at least we have options nowadays. All in all, in her optimal team, Castris commands one of the strongest, if not the strongest lineup in the entire game, and is a character who will be feared for a long time to come. You should pull Castris if you're willing to go for her premium team. The biggest cost of Castris is less her and everything she needs. Her new best team is likely herself, Evernight, Cyrene, and Hyacinth. For new players to already have or to get all of these is insane to say the least. However, for those who have all the pieces or are willing to get them, you will be rewarded with one of the best teams in the game by far. Cassie is a character who can dominate MOC, Pure Fiction, Apocalyptic Shadow, and Anomaly with relative ease. This is definitely an investment to make if you love the character, or, hey, if you love an easy win. Last but not least on this banner is the nuclear baby herself, Tribby. Tribby is a Quantum Harmony 5-star, and is regarded as the best overall support in the game. What Tribby offers to your team goes well beyond what you could reasonably expect. First up, her skill. She offers 24% res pen to your entire team for 3 turns. This is a lot of extra damage and is super helpful for teams with multiple DPS. Next up, her talent. Every time an ultimate is used, Tribby will launch a powerful follow-up attack that gets more powerful after each use, stacking additional damage dealt up to 3 times. Last but not least is her ultimate. This ultimate does damage, increases damage taken by enemies by 30%, and will deal extra damage every time enemies in the zone are attacked by allies. All of this, and yet Tribby has an even greater strength. Okay, I mean, I think all of this is definitely more impactful, but it's for the dramatics, okay? Tribby has a major trace that will regenerate energy every time an enemy target is hit. With this, she is capable of getting her ultimate incredibly quickly, provided she has an energy regen rope or her own signature light cone. This makes Tribby one of, if not the best user of the light cone dance in the entire game. Her ability to spam the action advance on this light cone is unbelievably helpful, making it so that her teammates get even more actions while still doing more damage. Tribby was a top Castris teammate for a very long time, but with a full premium Castris team, she is the most likely to be kicked out. This is a blessing, truth be told, freeing up Tribby for, I don't know, almost every other DPS in the game. Yeah, Tribby is pretty good. You should pull Tribby if you need a good generalized support. Tribby is an exceptional character who can fit just about anywhere besides break teams. I really can't recommend her enough if you don't have her or someone who can fulfill a similar role for general crit damage teams. Also, she does have a funny little Eidolon that I will be covering soon. Well, with that final banner covered, we can now move on to discussing the 4 stars and light cones available on the first half banners. I have great news about that too. The characters and light cones are the exact same on both sides. What? Yeah, so realistically, I think this was a mistake with the special program, but everything is the same on both halves, so I guess I'll only be doing this section once? Thank God we're doing an Eidolon section this time. So the 4-star characters available this time around are Moz, Lynx, and Pela. Honestly, not awful choices all things considered. The worst of these is definitely Lynx. With a free Danheng PT already on your account, a golden token to get Luocha, and Gallagher being an easy to acquire 4-star, yeah, Lynx just doesn't have any legs to stand on. She's a fine sustain overall, but definitely falls far behind in the healing department nowadays. Now, moving on to an actual 4-star, we have Moz. He is unfortunately, not that real. Moz serves as a powerful sub-DPS for follow-up teams, preferring a slot with Dr. Ratio, but also excelling with Fei Xiao, actually being the preferred option for some low-cycle strategies. He isn't a super complex character to build, and offers fairly high damage at E6. Considering Hunt March is absolutely free, and you can use your golden token on Topaz, it's hard to say that there aren't alternatives to Moz, however. He is also on banners, so that automatically makes him not as easy to get as these other two. If you can get him though, he's still an exceptional character who can be extremely competitive for follow-up DPS. Yeah, too bad they're in a severe drought right now. The last character on the banner is Pela, and she is definitely the best of the bunch. She's seen her usefulness reduce since more and more characters do her job now, but she's still incredible to say the least. Pela is a debuffer who gives at least 40% defense down on her ultimate. This is incredibly powerful and can be stacked with other forms of defense down to make that number scale exponentially. This is basically her entire kit if we're being honest, but hey, she has a good use nonetheless. I cannot recommend Pela enough if you can get her. She's always a good option to have ready on any account. Let's move on to light cones, and chat, I'm gonna be honest. I'm just sick of covering mediocre light cones, and that's exactly what these are. The only one to talk about today is the Remembrance Cone, the story's next page. This cone is a solid substitute for Hyacinth, and is an okay option for Casterus and Evernight since it gives more max HP. That is about it. It's not even a great cone, but with Remembrance having such limited options, I kind of feel the need to talk about all of them. Alright, well, with that disappointment done, we can now move on to our second half banners. For this half, we have Cypher stuck in the Yowie sandwich that is the reruns of Finon and Mighty. Let's start with the most powerful of the three, the man who just can't keep a shirt on, Finon. Finon is a physical destruction 5-star, and is the closest thing you can get to playing as a boss in this game. His playstyle consists of powering up as much as possible, and then telling his teammates to hold his beer as he attempts to solo every enemy in the game. Finon's unique mechanic is his ultimate. Every time he skills or has an ability used on him, he gains Core Flame stacks. When he reaches 12 Core Flames, he can activate his ultimate and turn into his more powerful form. In this form, you have a set amount of turns to deal as much damage as humanly possible, and he has plenty of ways to do it. Finon unlocks a stronger basic attack, a powerful counter that can advance enemy actions so that they hit him more, and his ultimate ability, which drops a Final Fantasy-style meteor upon his enemies. When he exits this powerful form, he does one last burst of damage that can absolutely decimate enemies an insane amount as well. Finon is in fact the Destroyer of Worlds, the Bringer of Death, and it is awesome to watch in action. On top of all of this, Finon is also incredibly flexible in what teammates he can use. With players having a shiny new Danheng PT, that's a great sustain choice for him with many more options still being viable. Outside of sustains, characters like Tingyun, Sparkle, Bronya, Ceridra, Sunday, Ronmei, and RMC are all viable options for his team. Cyrene will likely be included in this list too when she releases. If you can't tell, I'm a huge Finon fan, and I think he is a massive standout as a DPS character. You should pull Finon if you want a versatile DPS and don't mind losing some of your more general use units. Finon with a good team is an absolute demon to contend with. However, him requiring a lot of popular units like Sunday and RMC can be very problematic. I would still highly recommend him, but only if you can afford to use some different teams who may not rely on these characters as much. Next up is Cypher, and I've talked about Cypher a lot recently, so I will try to keep this brief. Cypher is a debuffer who excels with her speed and her built-in 40% vulnerability increase. She sports one of the strongest ultimates in the game that grows stronger the more damage your team overall does. She's not a perfect character and fits into a similar mold to characters like Silverwolf and Tribby. She is, however, still good and offers her own unique style that's definitely deserving of recognition. You should pull Cypher if you need a good general purpose debuffer or need a sub DPS for Acheron and Fei Xiao. Pretty simple reasoning here. Cypher has a few places where she's great and can be a difference maker. I would still recommend her a little less though compared to a character like Tribby, unless you have the teams for her. Finally, the last character of the day, the king of competitive bathing, Mighty. Mighty is an imaginary destruction 5-star, and yeah. He is by far the weakest DPS unit out of this batch, sadly. He's still an incredible character, who I think is overly hated for his mechanics, but that's just how the community feels, sadly. The way Mighty works is he wants to enter the Vendetta state ASAP. Mighty will accumulate charge constantly, and when he reaches 150 points, he will unleash Godslayer Be God. This is a powerful blast attack that can absolutely decimate his foes. The biggest problem for Mighty is genuinely just the fact that Casterus exists. Cassie outperforms him in many scenarios, and both characters require almost the exact same team. This leaves Mighty without a consistent home if you have both, and many people would recommend using Castris over him in most content. It's sad to see, honestly, as I really like Mighty, but yeah, the game just decided they didn't want to see him succeed. You should pull Mighty if you want a solid single target DPS and don't want any other recent DPS characters. Sorry for this one being a bit pessimistic, but yeah, Mighty makes me upset. The Kremnoan King deserved a lot better. Jesus Christ, that was a lot! Finally, all the characters are done, but this video isn't. I've talked a lot about Eidolons lately, and I know some people really don't like it. However, Anomaly is proof that proper investment matters more than ever. These are rerun banners, meaning grabbing Eidolons is fully possible for many players if you've saved for like a patch or two. I know that might be hard, but investing in your current units is one of the best ways to succeed in HSR. It keeps your favorites working for longer, and hopefully means that you can grab the new support for them when they come up. With that said, let's talk about Eidolon value versus light cone value real quick. Every Remembrance character should have their light cone prioritized in just about every case. There aren't great alternatives, and most Remembrance light cones do not work across the whole path, similar to how Hunt and Harmony light cones do. That's why those are the goats of light cones, I'm not gonna lie. Remembrance light cones should be your priority over Eidolons if you do not have them. Now, we can move on to talking about the ideal Eidolons for every character. I'll be going in the same order as earlier, so we'll start with Hyacinth. Hyacinth has great Eidolons overall, with her E2 being one of the most broken in the game if you have her signature light cone. However, the real heavy hitter if you're using her in her best teams is E1. This increases max HP by a ridiculous amount, and is amazing for increasing the strength of your HP scalers. If you already have Hyacinth and her light cone, this is an amazing pickup. Next up, Castris. I'm gonna be frank, if you aren't in a position to get her E2, I wouldn't go for Eidolons at all. Her E1 is negligible, and the light cone is far more important than it. There's also an Eidolon that is far better for Castris if you're capable of getting it, which is the previously mentioned Hyacinth E1. This has a huge effect for Cassie, and I do genuinely recommend it over her own E1. When it comes to Tribby, I would actually recommend her E1 over her light cone. E1 Tribby is an extremely powerful damage boost, granting true damage when allies deal damage in her zone. With how well she can use Dance 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 as her light cone, this is a more worthwhile investment in most cases. Now, the second half starting with Finon. Once again, I would prioritize Finon light cone as there is no comparable option. If you already have it, E2 is a massive boost to what Finon is capable of. However, E1 is still a nice damage boost that I can genuinely recommend if you feel comfortable with all your other characters. It gives his ult form a better speed ratio and increases his crit damage. It's not the best, but not awful either. For Cypher, her best Eidolons are at E1 and E2. E1 increases your tally recorded for ultimate, and E2 adds on more vulnerability to make her give 70% total. These are both very fun and powerful, but they're just not essential to what she does for the most part. I would get these if you love the character, or just really want to make her shine in other places. Last but not least is Mighty. Same thing as Castris, Hyacinth E1 is a really nice boost, and probably better than his own E1. E2 on the other hand is fantastic, and it does add a fair bit of value to his kit. If you already have his light cone, or a blade cone on him, an Eidolon for him or his teammates, or maybe even an E2, is probably going to be worth it if you just love the character. Okay, there we go. That's the Eidolons covered, so I can finally say we are done for today. I really hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope this was helpful to you. The Eidolon section was new and a bit strange, but I hope it ends up being received not too poorly. Leave in the comments below who you're excited to get, or if you have any more questions. I've got plenty more good videos coming out soon, so I will see you guys then. Bye-bye!